For the longest time, this spawn has been ignored because it was bad XP and hard to hunt. This is the middle spike. The spawn is accessed through Castle to the north side of the temple and is part of a large-scale spawn called the Spike, which is divided in three parts: upper, middle, and lower. The uniqueness of the spawn is that each area gets locked after a certain level. The upper spike is highly popular for low levels, and it's always been a good spawn to hunt, but the middle spike didn't get the same popularity. It wasn't until recently, during the balancing project of 2024, that it started getting some attention from Zipsoft, with Earth Elementals and mutated bags getting a slight XP increases. But by far the change that made this spawn even worth considering as a hunt is the nerf on damage on Crystal Crushers. These creatures were the main reason people didn't try to spawn. Their damage was too high for the little range of levels people can enter the spawn, and often it could headshot players, especially if they came in groups. So with all of this, it's finally at least worth trying. In the middle spike there is a high variety of creatures, but it's mainly Clay Guardians, Earth Elementals, and mutated rats and bats. For this video, I will be covering it with a mage, a paladin, and a monk. I will recommend to come at level 60 so you can use Terra Amulets to decrease the damage taken, but technically level 50s and above can enter the spawn. Once you are 80, you cannot come back, so keep that in mind. So let's start with the first one and try, and also the worst performer, the Paladin. With this character, I had fully tier 3 imbued bow and no imbues on armor or helmet. Additionally, because I didn't have an imbued helmet, I went for the wood cape, which comes with some extra terra protection. Also for the hunt, I was trying out burst arrows, since the spawn itself is quite dense in creatures and AoE hunting is the best way to go. And by the way, even though I had a defensive prey on Crystal Crushers, it's not because of the hunt. I was using this character for killing fiendish creatures in the middle spike, so I will run through them often, and I roll praise for that reason. You don't need to have it for the hunt, but of course be respectful of the damage from Crystal Crushers. The way I was hunting is on the first floor, the northeast lab. It is more than enough and it has a nice loop to it. And hunting here, my experience was of a bit over 400k raw. I think I didn't do my best on this hunt, so there is room for a bit more, but taking into consideration the RP has high skills, I'd say this is a fair estimate. Moving on to the mage, I started hunting the spawn at level 72, with a high magic level character and fully imbued. But for the sake of my guys for mages, I hunt mostly with runes to avoid using spells the other vocation doesn't have, so I could definitely have done better on the hunt by using fire and energy waves and UE. Regardless, without those, I was pushing close to the 600k raw, using the same lab on the northeast. However, with this sorcerer, I put a bit more effort into testing the spawn labs and tried 3 more labs. The southwest on the same floor was my second test run, and in terms of experience I did worse, sitting around the 570k raw. However, something to keep in mind is this lab has more earth elementals, which recently got my rings added to their loot table, and although I wasn't putting much effort in looting, I think that might make the hunts here profitable. Now on the next floor, starting on the southwest, it was also a high amount of earth elementals, but with almost double the crystal crushers, making it clearly more dangerous. Also, ancient scarabs are more common. In this hunt, my raw experience was between the 610 to 620k raw, making it the best so far. And then to finish it up, the northeast lab on the same floor. XP went down to around the 600k, but with the kills stats similar to the previous floor, so overall slightly better and still favoring earth elementals. For this one I came with an average skill character, but right at the edge of the level limit. But I think for the monk it's a must to be level 70, because that's when you get the proper rotation. So anything lower than that I wouldn't come here. Additionally, I was using a tier 3 mana leech imbuement on the helmet, and even with that my mana consumption was extremely high, which to be fair was the case for the paladin too. I would run out of supplies right at the 15-minute mark. The sorcerer was able to go further because of double imbuments and because I wasn't using spells on it. But for this hunt, I did the same lab of the other 2 characters, first floor, northeast lab, and although I expected to be harder to hunt, it was actually easier than the other vocations. Didn't feel dangerous despite being weaker in protections, and damage output was enough to deal with creatures fast, and hunting like that I got experience up to around 500k raw. This leaves room for improvements because the skills are just average, and I also am still learning how to play the monk, but the important thing is that it was doable, and overall the spawn is actually pretty decent for the intended levels nowadays. Unfortunately, I think the level limit should have been higher to at least level 100, but that's how the spawn works and can't help that. You could technically log out inside of it and bring supplies with a different character to overstay your welcome, but that's too much effort for what's technically an average spawn. However, it might be good to consider for charming purposes, but I will leave that up to you to decide. Thank you for watching. If you like the content, consider subscribing, and if you want to find more options to hunt, check out my dedicated playlist.